Well, hello and good evening, everyone. We are live from Northport, Florida. This is 10 Tampa Bay reporter Bo Zimmer. A good evening to everyone. It is a hot and muggy night here in Northport, and you are taking a live look at the home of Brian Laundrie and his parents. This home has been a pretty high-profile place over the past week or two. Just ask the neighbors who live in this neighborhood. We've been keeping a very close eye on this property. In fact, in the front driveway, it's a little bit dark there, but at the maybe the lower or mid right side of the screen, you can see that obscured vehicle there. That is actually Brian Laundrie's silver Mustang that was towed from his parents' home earlier in the week. It has since been returned, and that is one of the pieces of evidence that the Northport Police and now the FBI have been taking a look at. I'll step here in front of the camera. This has been really an incredible case to follow for all of the journalists who've been covering this. You know, we have a lot of stories that that make national news out of Florida, but this is certainly one that has captured the nation's and really the world's attention as you know, we initially started looking and asking, where is Gabby? And now this has turned into a homicide investigation. A lot of activity tonight to report. We can officially report that there is an arrest warrant, a federal arrest warrant out for Brian Laundrie, and that is because federal investigators have determined, and a grand jury has determined, that Brian Laundrie actually used Gabby's bank card, her debit card. It is believed potentially after her disappearance, and that was used out in some states out west, and so there is the concern that was used illegally, and that is how the FBI has now, you know, created this situation where basically Brian can be arrested by any law enforcement officer in the country. Obviously, this is a very high-profile case, and that is allowing law enforcement to take that action. Again, he is wanted for this crime of using the bank card illegally, allegedly, but of course, much greater than that, he's wanted for questioning in the disappearance of Gabby Petito. And of course, this case has really captured the nation's attention, and certainly for a number of days and now weeks now since we first learned that she was missing. She was first reported missing back on September 11th. So we can tell you what happened today. Earlier today, crews were out here at the Laundrie family home, and Laundrie's parents were actually whisked outside, and they were escorted in their own vehicle to Orlando. We don't know exactly what happened in Orlando, but we do know from the attorney that they did travel to Orlando today, and then late this afternoon, just before 5 o'clock, they returned home, again, went straight inside, not answer any questions, and have really remained silent for much of this process, short of a few very short statements that have been released via social media. But it really has created a situation where the whole community out here just wants answers about what happened to Gabby. Of course, Brian Laundrie is the one who a lot of people suspect may have some of those answers, and that's one of the reasons he's wanted for questioning. But a lot of people in this community also have questions for this family. How much did they know? And certainly they are not accused of any crimes at this point. They have not been arrested or taken into custody, but a lot of questions for them as well, as Brian Laundrie remains missing at this point. You know, a lot of people wonder, is he on the run? Is he you know, trying to escape in some way? I can tell you a massive search has been underway at the nearby reserve, about 5 miles from here. That's been going on for days now. This is very difficult terrain where the Sheriff's Office, Northport Police, FWC, and numerous other agencies have just been out from sunup to sundown every single day through, you know, incredibly hot and humid conditions. They've had afternoon thunderstorms and lightning to deal with, not to mention all the wildlife out in that area. They've got those search dogs, but if you can imagine, there's alligators and mosquitoes and rattlesnakes out there that they have to contend with as well. But they do have a lot of equipment that has been brought in, including a number of drones, helicopter air support, as well as these big well, you got the ATVs and things like that, but I mean, they've got some big swamp buggies and things that they call, massive, almost like what you'd see in a monster truck rally, except these are designed to kind of go through high water and high brush. And they've been using that to comb this entire area. 25,000 acres is the size of this Carlton Reserve. Again, which about 5 miles to our east from here, and it's just a massive property, and you can only imagine how difficult those search efforts must be. But so far, no sign of Mr. Laundrie, and he is the key to all of this. From a law enforcement perspective, they have a lot of questions for him. He was the last one to see Gabby Petito that we know of, and he returned home back to Florida, and she has not been seen since. So this investigation continues, and we continually have new updates every single day. And today was a big one, as we said. A federal arrest warrant has been issued out of Wyoming, and at this point, any law enforcement officer in the country that spots this person of interest has been authorized to take him into custody, and he's wanted for questioning again by the FBI, by Northport Police, and of course Gabby's family. They've got a lot of questions for him as well, and they've been very, very frustrated and vocal about not being able to hear from him or his family for that matter. So we'll have to continue to wait and see how this plays out over the coming days, hopefully not weeks, but certainly probably over the coming days. And, only time will only tell what developments we may continue to see in this case as it continues to drag on. And I've talked with folks here in the neighborhood, and it's just this has been a very difficult time for a lot of people. Again, they want answers. It's hard to get the healing process to begin before you know what actually happened. And at this point, we only know that Gabby has lost her life. She was found out there in Wyoming. The FBI making that announcement that they confirmed her identity earlier in the week, and just a tough time for this community. In fact, earlier today we saw folks from throughout the neighborhood. They were putting up blue ribbons on all of the street poles and stop signs all over town. So as you drive around Northport, you'll see those little blue ribbons everywhere. In addition to what we've seen over by the police department and City Hall, where there has been a memorial that has been created and has grown with candles and photos and more ribbons in the trees over there. It really shows how much this has touched this entire community. But as we go over there and talk to people, these aren't just people from Northport. They're from all over the state of Florida. We've seen people from as far away as Lutz and down in the Miami area as well. So this has really touched a lot of people, and a lot of concern over what happened, how this was allowed to happen. The other big development that we heard of today, the video of Gabby and Brian on one of their stops out in Moab, Utah. This is where this was actually right near the entrance to the Arches National Park. Just a beautiful park. I was actually out there not too long ago. And so there were some questions about how that situation and that encounter with law enforcement was handled. You may remember there were some 911 calls that bystanders made to police reporting that there was some type of fight going on between Gabby and her fiancé. And then at one point, their van, that big white van that has become so famous, was pulled over at the entrance to that national park. And, the officers came up to the vehicle, found a very tearful Gabby, but both were very apologetic. Both genuinely seemed like they didn't want the other person to get in trouble. And, I've watched that whole video, an hour plus of video from the dash cam and the body cam of these officers. And you could tell that they genuinely were concerned about this situation and were trying to do the very best for everyone involved. They initially had determined that Gabby was the person who actually was going to be the person who would be charged with assault in that case. They were very close to making an arrest, but after talking to both parties and some of the witnesses, they decided that because neither party wanted the other person to get in trouble, that they would have them separated for the night. And I tell you, I listened to the officers. This was not just a rush decision. They were not making a decision just because she was the female, the smaller of the two. They really thought this through. supervisors were out there and helped make this decision, and ultimately decided that they were not going to charge Gabby with a crime on that night, but they did request that they'd be separated for the night. So Gabby spent the night in a hotel. She was told not to contact her fiance for the night, and then Brian would come back in the van and pick her up the next morning, and as far as we know, that's what happened. That case is now under investigation in terms of how the officers handled that case. But I can tell you, just in terms of watching the video, the officers, from what I could see, seemed very compassionate to both parties. They were really trying to do the right thing, and were not trying to give Gabby or Brian a free pass. They were very close to making an arrest or creating some legal problems for the two of them, but ultimately it was decided that they would be allowed to go on their way and continue their trip. It was a difficult situation for those officers, but now everyone is looking back, hindsight 2020, and questioning, was that the right decision? Was that the right thing to do? I can tell you the city of Moab released a statement saying that at this point they have found no problems with the way that the officers handled that situation and no violations of any of their protocols. So, but there will be an official investigation into that. So that's where we stand tonight. Again, an arrest warrant out for Brian in this case, as a grand jury in Wyoming has come back finding he did in fact, or at least there is reason to believe that he used that debit card of Gabby's illegally after she disappeared, and that raises a lot of questions on why that happened. I believe it was about $1,000 that was removed from the account, and because of that, and because it impacts interstate commerce, that has allowed for some federal charges and has allowed for this federal warrant for Brian's arrest. So we'll continue to keep a very close eye on this situation. We've been out here in the neighborhood and in Northport for days now, keeping a very close eye on the situation, and of course we'll continue to bring you the very latest as new developments happen. We'll have a full report with our legal expert Roham Kansari coming up tonight on 10 Tampa Bay at 11 on your local CBS station in Tampa, so stay tuned for that. And of course, as we get any new information, we'll be updating you both here on our 10 Tampa Bay Facebook page and social media channels, and at 10tampabay.com. Everybody have a great night. We'll keep you updated, and that's it from here in Northport.